friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. And today, our special guest is Jessica Hunt, a mental health expert specializing in helping parents and couples maintain their sense of self during the parenting stage. She focuses on improving their relationships with themselves and each other. Jessica, I'm so excited to have you on to talk about this topic because I feel like when I first became a mom, and we had this new child in our life, like our relationship with my ex-husband definitely changed, and there was a strain, and roles changed and needs changed and things like that. So I think it's important that we talk about this because we kind of forget about how important it is to nurture our relationships after becoming parents.
100%. Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah. So diving into the topic, what are some common challenges couples face, in their relationships during these parenting years?
Well, couples can face a lot of challenges during the parenting years, especially in the beginning. There's reduced quality time with one another, financial stress from new expenses, conflicts over differing parenting styles. Plus, I
Mhm.
mean, there's the sleep deprivation, lack of personal time, disconnection from one's identity outside the parenting role. It all impacts a couple's feelings of connection and intimacy. And for many, what starts out as a phase in the early years snowballs on itself. And then all of a sudden, they find themselves years later lacking friendship and sex and connection and alignment.
Yeah, it's just like living with a roommate.
Yeah.
You know, so what are some, practical tips that you can share with us for people to strengthen their relationships with one another? What are some things that, parents can do right now?
Yeah. At the foundation of it all, you really have to rebuild friendship. I personally think that that has to come first before you can address any of the other issues. So, rebuilding friendship involves taking a genuine interest in each other's lives and deeply understanding each other's hopes and worries. You need to regularly show appreciation for each other, respond warmly to each other's needs, and spend quality time together, creating habits of routines, rituals, traditions that are meaningful. Be supportive and empathetic to each other. From there, then you can work on navigating conflict, improving intimacy, and the other issues.
I found that like one important thing is like you have to have respect for one another
Mhm.
in order to show that like you can talk nicely to each other. Like once you've kind of like like once you've like lost, I feel like if someone once you've kind of lost like the respect, like you kind of
Mhm.
I don't know, you have to work on building that. I don't know why. Maybe it was just something I felt like in my relationship, like there was,
You're 100% right.
you know what I mean? Like it's just like you just don't talk to that person as nicely or show up as you used to, like once you start losing
Absolutely.
that. And it's like you have to bring that back and see like not that that person doesn't have value, but like why you were with them to begin with,
Mhm.
and you know and understanding like what their new role is and having like that empathy, and understanding like maybe that's the new person and like how can you adjust to being that new person, because I know motherhood sometimes can really like hormonally it like totally changes you, and it can definitely knock you off your feet, and you don't show up as you used to when you didn't have like those obligations.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
So how does like improving the relationship between the parents like benefit the overall family dynamic? Why is that important for our children to see that within our parenting relationship?
Well, improving the relationship between parents, it can significantly enhance the overall family environment. It models healthy relationships for children. It provides a more supportive and loving home atmosphere. It reduces stress levels throughout the household. I mean, when kids see that their parents are really on each other's side, it can also improve like their cooperation. I mean, they know there's no point in parent shopping if they see their parents as a strong team,
Hmm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. And also, I feel like I always say this, things are caught, not taught. So it's like how they see you interacting with your spouse, like, they can pick up on those traits for like down the road for their own relationships, and
They're
it,
they're going to model treating their partner the way that they see you
yeah.
treating your partner.
Yeah. Or they'll, it could be the opposite effect, that they can be in a relationship that is not healthy for them because they're used to being yelled at all the time or something. You know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
taking more of like the passive side than the aggressive side. So I mean, it goes both ways, but
100%.
it's really important for our, children to see loving relationships because then they can act more, loving towards others in their community.
Yeah, and they get a sense of self-worth, that they're worthy of being treated a certain way, for better or for worse.
Hmm. So before we dive into our next segment, is there anything else you'd like to add to our conversation?
Um, I would just say that, like, if you're trying to maintain a sense of self, in these early years, like, it's incredibly hard to maintain a sense of self or any semblance of individuality, during this time, because everyone reduces you to your role as a parent. This is particularly the case for mothers. So if, like, you're given the message that your entire existence is supposed to revolve around your kids, and who has time to take care of themselves and feed their own desires when that's the expectation. So you lose yourself. Your identity pre-kids is just gone, and you don't have time or space to figure out who you are now. So if you're trying to start getting back to yourself, you really need to set aside time for your personal interest and genuine self-care, not just meeting basic needs like showering. This might mean like regular exercise, prioritizing sleep, hobbies, alone time, or being social sans kids. Things like that.
Yeah, no, we kind of sometimes forget that we need to take care of ourselves in more ways besides, so, brushing our teeth or taking a shower and doing, the basic errands like grocery shopping. Everyone was fed, no one died.
Yeah.
And I
Going to the
remember,
bathroom by yourself is not self-care.
yeah, exactly. Or like going to the grocery store and like doing that like 5-10 minute drive to the store is not self-care. I mean, and I've noticed when like implementing that type of stuff in my own routine, when feeling kind of lost and just kind of like the overburden of just parenthood, like it's really changed me and how I parent. Like I'm more calmer. I can just kind of not get as snappy as quickly, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I'm in a better headspace and not, all wound up. So I think that it is important, and I'm glad that you brought that up to remind, us that, we really do need to take care and time for ourselves.
Definitely.
All right, Jessica, it is time for the Power Mom Chronicles, and I cannot wait to dive into this with you. And my first question is, what's a game-changing lesson life has taught you?
Oh, good question. That meaningful, lasting change, it has to come from a place of self-compassion and self-acceptance rather than self-criticism. Like, in none of the areas of my life that I feel like truly successful did I get there by berating myself into that success. I
Mhm.
accomplished them by believing in myself and adjusting to any setbacks or shortcomings with self-compassion. Um, the things that, can I swear?
Yeah, so yeah.
The things that I shit all over myself about
Yeah,
are
yeah,
they are the things I continue to struggle with and don't make headway on.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's important. I like that. And so who and what inspires you?
Oh, that's a hard question for me to answer because a lot of things do. But to be perfectly honest, my ADHD brain is my number one asset when it comes to being inspired or interested in something. Like, there's
Mhm.
nothing quite like a good hyper focus to
Yeah,
inspire and motivate me to go all in and learn something and learn everything I can about it. Like, it spawns so much creativity.
I love that. And offer a piece of wisdom for moms or anyone really striving to find their strength and voice.
Um, I would say it feels hard because it is hard.
Mm.
So if you're struggling with mom rage, not knowing your identity anymore, feeling less than, or anything like that in this stage of your life, that it's a symptom of an unmet need and not a personality flaw. So show yourself some compassion for the struggle. And along those same lines, the feelings that we have that are like that are they're a reflection of many aspects of society, both micro and macro, but you really can't ignore the impact of social media on making you feel that about yourself. So For that piece, I encourage moms to remember that social media is curated and to not compare your entire life to a moment of someone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a picture can say 1,000 words, and also film can create the imagination too as well. And you always can get like the best sides of things. So I'm glad that you bring that up because sometimes we can get lost in comparison and the overwhelm of like the social media and like the quote unquote like perfectness or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And my last question to you is what's the best advice you've ever received?
Well, when I was like in the trenches of new motherhood with my first, one of my dear, dear friends who had kids already told me to treat my son like he was my second. She told me that there's endless numbers of second, third, fourth, et cetera, borns out there who have to learn how to wait for a moment while you tend to a sibling and they adapt. So if you need to take that shower, finish your sandwich, finish your conversation, just treat your first and new baby like a subsequent child and know that they're going to be okay if they have to wait. Like, of course, assuming that they aren't in a situation where they literally need you immediately,
Yeah.
you're not neglecting them by tending to your basic needs. And this practice really helped me learn how to balance being a responsive mother while at the same time taking care of my own needs.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on this week's episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. All of her links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy, go say hi, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.